Okay. Okay. Well, welcome everyone to the August Astrophotography Zoom meeting. So I'm going to share my screen and get this set up. Okay. And of course it's further over there. So hold on. There we go. And Justin. Okay. So for tonight's meeting, come on. We're going to be having Brett as the guest speaker for his to talk about his recent astrophotography trip to the Atacama Desert, and Brett will be talking about planning that trip, doing the sort of traveling, getting equipment there, setting up, and then also showing us some of his pictures. After that, we'll be talking about if anyone has any recently processed images or things that they would like to share with the group. We'll be doing a show and tell, and then also a Q&A. So again, Brett will be these are just teasers from his preliminary processed images. So these are from a couple months ago. So from what Brett has
That's all
mentioned
I
to me,
have.
that's it. That's fine then. That's fine. So why don't we just go right to show and tell? We'll go to show and tell then. Okay. Um, and then next month we're going to have Nico Carver as the guest speaker. So Brett lined up Nico to present to us, and he'll be doing a talk called "The Past 10 Years of Amateur Astrophotography," and he's going to talk about his personal experiences over that time, talk about developments in the hobby over the past 10 years, and then hopes to leave people excited about astrophotography. Obviously, we're coming to this workshop every month because we're already kind of excited about it, but we'll get Nico's insight onto his journey in astrophotography. He started actually sort of a deep dive in astrophotography in 2016, I believe it was. So he's been doing it about 10 years, and he mostly focuses on training and things of that sort, and trying to get people enthused in astrophotography. So we're excited about that, and thank you again, Brett, for setting that up. And then the October session, right now, I still have that open. I have not reached out to Agapios, and I'm not sure. I mentioned last month, I'm not sure uh, if I'm going to be able to have the sort of the bandwidth to do that because we have some travel coming up. And then I also don't have a full commitment from Wayne. So I'll talk to him on Friday night at the general meeting. I talked to him last month and he was still saying he needs to get back involved with it, learn some of the new scripts. So that's still an open meeting at this point. And then the December meeting I mentioned, I will be out of town. So I'll be out of the country. So obviously will not be able to attend the meeting or run the meeting. So I don't know, John, if you're going to be around on that date in December, but if not, then someone would need to host it, or we have to cancel it that month.
Okay.
So I mean, assuming if you're going to be around, John, you would need to just get it started, and then it could just be an open session.
Yeah.
But that's a bit of a hole right now.
Okay. Yeah, probably at a minimum we could do an open session. So
Yeah, yeah. So without further ado, we'll go back to this slide and see if Brett has anything beyond this. So we're going to keep tabs on you, Brett, and check to
count
see
'em
if
up.
you have
Yeah.
Anything besides these two pictures?
A picture of myself. It's a couple selfies.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay.
Well, again, thank you for putting this together.
Well,
And,
don't thank me. Yeah.
well, I am going to thank you ahead
I'll
of
get
time.
okay. I'll give you thanks, Gary. I'll give you a quick little background on how I went about putting this trip together. First of all, I don't know that I want to show any images because I just saw that Dan is logged on. So that's kind of an unfair playing field. Because we've all seen some of his stuff from down in that area. I don't know if you want to comment, Dan, or not. I think he's muted.
He is muted.
Yeah.
Brett,
Dan
I'm
has
waiting with bated breath.
uh-huh. Oh yeah. Well, you have the luxury of having some heavy duty equipment down there that you don't have to try to get on a plane and travel with. And of course you have a level of experience that I'm still trying to attain. So yeah, I started trying to plan this about 2 years ago, actually with uh, a fella that had a YouTube channel here in the States, and he was putting together a workshop there, and that fell through primarily because he wasn't working with the right tour organization or the right guide. One of the challenges that he ran into was getting adequate power to these remote locations. And the prices that he was getting quoted for this were a little bit exorbitant. And once that fell through, I started vetting some of the tours that specialize in astrophotography in that region, and set up a Zoom call with the fellow that we settled on. His name is Moros Cuevez. He's the owner of 3K Private Tours, and that was probably, well, definitely the best decision on the trip. He was fantastic. And when I say we, this was planned primarily by me, but also with my buddy Tim Chasto, who lives in Sweden. He is a professional videographer that's got into the astrophotography hobby, and is he has his own YouTube channel called Cosmic Captures. I encourage you to check it out. He's trying to grow that channel as best he can. One of the tertiary goals of this trip was to lay the groundwork for Tim possibly going back and doing his own workshop in the May of 2027. We were there this past May. Ironically, we happened to be down there when Nico Carver was there doing his a workshop that he was getting paid by a couple of his clients to attend. So finding the right tour guide, it was key. And I would not advocate going down there and trying to do it on your own. In other words, just booking airfare and a hotel and trying to decide where to go and what sites to visit, and access to some of the sites. As an example, the Rainbow Valley area, you need a permit to get in because it's managed by some indigenous people. And some of the other areas, you just can't. You have to be a little careful just driving off when I say main road for them to set up to do what Tim and I were doing. So that was by far the best decision we made. And Moro and I become good friends. I was just chatting with him the other day on WhatsApp, and I hope to get back to see him in the next year or two. In regards to travel with gear, this isn't the first trip I've taken with too much stuff. I went down with two full traditional rigs, two Red Cats, cameras, two tripods, two AM3 mounts, a couple of full frame regular DSL cameras, if you will, a couple of lenses for that, a tracker to mount the cameras on, and I'll go through and a smart scope, the dwarf mini. What I packed was a little too much for me to handle. What Tim packed was mind-boggling. I don't know how a guy gets that much stuff in his luggage, which I will show you an inventory of the key pieces that we had with us. I can tell you that by the time that my trip was from Philly to Miami, long layover Miami to Santiago, and then a regional airline called JetSmart. Nothing smart about JetSmart. That was the worst decision on this trip. Never fly that airline again. I'd be happy to chat some more about it offline. To Calama, and then in Calama, that's where we were picked up by the guide and drove the hour and 10, 15 minutes to San Pedro de Atacama. San Pedro de Atacama was our home base. We stayed at a very nice hotel in town. What we were doing was different than nearly everyone who goes to that area for photography or astrophotography. Most of the guides, if not all the guides, um, structure their programs so that you go out an hour or two before it starts to get dark, and most of it's Milky Way photography. And you're heading back to your hotel by midnight, 1 a.m. You're certainly not staying overnight like we did. We left the hotel. We got picked up around 4 in the afternoon with our gear, drove the hour, give or take, to whichever site we were going to that night, and then set up. And I'll walk through that very, very briefly. Um, Packed up after an hour after sunrise, and then an hour back. We got back to the room maybe 10 a.m. in the morning. So we had from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to try to get some sleep in a real bed, organize data, put your plan together for the following night, get a bite to eat, and back at it again. We had booked 7 nights with Moreau. The third or the fourth night, where we went was just too darn windy. We ended up coming back, and Tim and I were not disappointed. Having a night in the bed as opposed to another night out and having 3 or 4 nights in a row was too much. It was too ambitious. If you're going to do something like that, 4 to 5 nights is a limit, or do 3 nights, take a day or two to just hang out in town, and then do another 2 nights, or mix it up, do 1 or 2 nights overnight, and then a night where you go out and do some Milky Way photography, find a nice site that has some interesting things to put in the foreground, and then come back to a bed and and a meal that evening. By the time I got back to Santiago on the trip home, I had a day layover there. I was at my last thread. Not as young as I used to be. I had 2 heavy checked bags, a heavy carry-on, a heavy personal item, and I will not travel with that much gear again. If I was 25 or 30 years old, perhaps, but that was I'm going to use that maybe as the excuse as to why it's taking me this long to start to process the images, because I'm still recovering from the trip. So that all said, can I share my screen? Oh, I already did. Sorry.
That's good. It's coming up. We got your
Yeah,
desktop.
the first technical issue here is that when I go to, I don't use PowerPoint that much, but when I go to do the slide from the beginning here, I can't progress the slides. Do you know what I'm doing wrong? I've always been able to do it. When I was working, I would just use a clicker, hit enter.
Yeah, you might need to use, I have that trouble too when I'm doing Zoom. If you
Yep.
hover near the bottom of the screen or click down near the bottom of the screen, you should see some controls on the lower left. And there's an advanced screen. I wind up having to use the mouse with that. The arrow keys on the keyboard don't work in Zoom for some reason.
I'm not seeing anything on the screen here that I can, well, let me try this. Well, can you see this good enough? Because the images are not in the PowerPoint. This is just to kind of give you a background of the trip. Can we see that good enough like it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could probably use the zoom control to maybe bring it up like open your window a little more. On the lower right, there's the PowerPoint zoom
Oh, there
control.
you go.
You might
There
be
you
able to
go.
pull it up a little there, a little more
Okay,
there.
great.
Well, and also right there, that little arrow at the top of the scroll collapses the ribbon bar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta move this guy right here.
Yep.
Uh,
you can uncheck the always show ribbon.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, do show tabs only.
Pardon me?
Do show tabs only.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's too. I'm sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Uh,
Yeah, that's and then
okay. It's
yeah,
about.
that's close.
Can we are okay with that?
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
All right. This, you can see how excited we are here. This is after about our third or fourth morning, and Tim is on the left. Freezing cold, tired. Now I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because this was a trip of a lifetime, but at the end of each day, cold, tired, and packing up to get out of there. Yeah, it wore on you after a while. And so why the Atacama Desert? I think probably most of you know the reasons for that. It's same reasons that most of the large telescopes, at least in the Western Hemisphere, are located in that area. It's rarely have clouds. There's hardly any rainfall. In fact, the first night we went out, Moreau was telling us that we were fortunate that we just missed a monsoon because a week before we got there, it had rained 3 millimeters. Um, this graphic says that it rains 83 millimeters a year. I don't know that it rains that much. I've heard that certain parts of that region get almost no rain at all. The altitude, the San Pedro's at 7,900 feet. That's where we started, and we went up from there. I think we got as high as about 11,000 feet. One of the sites that we were scheduled to go to was around 12,500. There's sites that you can go that are higher. The weather wasn't cooperating that day. One of the things that was recommended by our guide, which we took him up on, was getting into San Pedro a couple days ahead of time so we could acclimate to the altitude. The altitude was not a problem, and I would guess what contributed to that was the fact that we had gotten there early, and Moreau scheduled the days so that we gradually went up in altitude. The sky meter readings there, you can see what some of the readings are that people have reported. And the seeing conditions can be as good as a half an arc second. The travel, I mentioned already, air travel, regional air carrier mistake, JetSmart, I will mention them by name again. When you go through customs in Chile, you're required, Dan probably knows this pretty well, they give you a PDI card, and I forget what that stands for, but you're not supposed to lose that. I did. And it was a little challenge to get one to replace it, but you need that to be able to get out of the country. I put it in my tucked it into my passport, couldn't find it. We had to walk to the nearest security checkpoint. Tim wasn't too happy about that, only to find that when we got there and the officer started flipping through my passport, he found that I had it tucked in there. It wasn't lost at all. We'll move on from that. One of the challenges when you travel with telescope equipment that probably many of you know is what to do for powering it, especially if you have mounts. You can for domestic flights and most international flights, you can on your carry-on pack as many batteries that are less than 100 watt hours per device. The devices, as an example, that Tim uses are they're from a company called Small Rig. You probably heard of them. They do a lot of stuff with camera gear. Small Rig, they're 99 watt hours specifically for that purpose. And my understanding is that a lot of video people, when they're traveling to sites, put several of these in their carry-on. When I was in Death Valley, I put 3 of those in my carry-on. I think Tim had packed 6 of them for this trip. So you can pack as many as you want, as long as they're in your carry-on. There's no limit, quote unquote, no limit. I would still check the current rules for flying. Interestingly enough, is that a smart scope can be in your checked luggage on domestic flights and most international flights, but again, I would check. I've never done that. But just double checking some of the stuff for this presentation, I came across this. So long as it's less than 100 watt hours, which I didn't look it up, but Gary, you may comment. I can't imagine that the Sea Stars have batteries in them any larger than that.
The Sea Stars, the older 2 are 60, I think,
60.
and the new 50 is 100.
I wonder.
So it
I
might
wonder.
be right at the limit, but
Maybe it's designed for that, Scott. You know what I mean?
right. But and the new one has a higher battery capacity. But I'm pretty sure I saw the comparison. I'm pretty sure the old ones were 60, and the new one was longer. And I want to say it was 100.
Okay, good to know. The schedule. By the way, these images here were courtesy of Morel. He's had quite a good photographer in his own right. So I mentioned this already. We arrived in San Pedro, and you can read down through the schedule that we had a day that we bailed because of the high winds. No complaints from us. I'm sorry here. And a typical night. This again is the next morning with Tim trying to get a little bit of shut eye, as there's no point in tending to the equipment at that time of the morning. This is in the Rainbow Valley. The Rainbow Valley area has a lot of rock formations, a lot of interesting areas if you're going to do some Milky Way photography to set up and get some different colored rocks and rock formations in the foreground while you're doing some Milky Way work. Typical night, drive the remote site. I touched on this, so I'll just skip through it real quick. Monroe was wonderful. Our meals at night, which were 11 at night, sometimes it was whenever we were ready after getting all the equipment set up, and invariably, you know how that goes. There's something that's not working right. Had a lovely meal, tablecloth, warm meal. And in the morning we had a hot breakfast and break camp and come back to the hotel. Problems and challenges. So I mentioned this to Gary, I think maybe 1 or 2 other folks. I had a problem with, I think it was both ASI airs, in that when I went to try to shoot the same target on another night, I wasn't able to frame it the same way as the previous night. I couldn't do it from a plan that I had created in the ASI Air, nor could I do it from loading individual fits. And my experience is you can do it, well, a plan should automatically do it, but you can load an automatic fits, a load of fits, and then just have it slew to that location. And as long as your camera rotation hasn't changed, you should be right on. Or if it has, you can manually, I didn't have an automatic camera rotator, manually get to the position you need to image it. So that wasn't working. So what I was doing is taking a photo of how it was framed, and then trying to look at the photo while I'm on the iPad that had the picture that I was taking to try to line it up, and that caused some problems. I had a lot of cropping that had to be done when I was stacking, which I'll touch on real quick. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit. The other challenge with the flats, I have a nice little flat panel. Yeah, I know, of course he does. I didn't pack it. for some reason, I thought that was going to take up too much room, but with everything else I was packing, I just should have done it. Doing sky flats, it was cold there at night. It was below freezing. When you got up in the morning, the water bottles were mostly frozen. You tried to sleep a little bit in the tent, and there were sleeping bags. I packed lots of warm clothes, but you never quite got really warm enough that you could get some sleep. And doing the flats in the morning were challenging. And the other thing that, again, when you're fatigued, you're not thinking straight, I suppose, is that I was rotating the camera some nights to frame a different target, and that could cause some problems with the flats that I was creating in the morning, because they were from the position that the last rotation of the camera. I haven't it hasn't seemed to rear its head yet on the stuff that I've processed so far. I don't know if somebody there can comment on it. I mean, I guess it all depends on where the donut is in the image train. If it's not, if it's in the part that I'm rotating, it wouldn't make a difference, right? Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Say it again. I'm not sure. I don't understand the question.
Okay, so at night, in the middle of the night, I would go to a different target, and then I would manually rotate the camera to be able to shoot that target. In the morning, I would take sky flats, but the sky flats were taken with the camera in the newly rotated position. Is that going to be a problem when I go to stack the images from early in the evening with a different camera orientation with those same set of flats?
I mean, it's possible it could, but I think that generally speaking, you would want to have the flats for each camera angle that you shoot at
Right.
in an ideal situation. So the assumption you have to make to be able to use those flats for stuff that doesn't match that camera angle is that the telescope itself is symmetric, basically in its full circle. Now,
Right.
there are, if you ever looked in some astrophotos on some brighter stars, there's this thing called I think they call it the lighthouse effect, where you have a really small cone of dark. It's it's kind of like a bar that's V-shaped about the star. If you've ever seen those in astrophotos, it's not that uncommon.
Yeah.
Those are due to the camera or something in the optical train being slightly off axis. So they're not totally concentric.
Hmm.
So I think based on that phenomenon being, not that uncommon, the assumption that the optical tube is perfectly symmetrical about the central axis is probably not a good assumption. But I think that from a practical standpoint, I think that you can get away with what you did. Because I think the vignetting is going to be reasonably symmetric, for the purposes of what you're talking about. If you wanted to be more of a purist with it, you would take flats for each camera angle,
Yeah.
basically.
Right. Right. And it doesn't occur to you in the middle of a strange land in the middle of the night that, oh, I better do something. Yeah. As I just mentioned, some other problems and challenges. It 25 degrees at 3 a.m. is always colder than 25 degrees at 10 p.m. It just is. And then I touched on the schedule that we had. Good news is that polar alignment was a snap. Basically, just made sure that the mount was more or less close to the right altitude, pointed it where you thought south was, and let it do its polar alignment, and it just moved a few places like it would back home. did plate solves, and then you adjusted based on the results it got, and tracking was great for both rigs every night.
Brett, do you have to do anything special with that? I've never shot in the Southern Hemisphere with some of these tools like the ASI Air. In the old days, with regular equatorial mounts, you'd have to tell the controller whether you were north or south latitude. Do you need to do that, or does it, because it knows
No,
where it is, it just does it?
it just does it. I mean, you put in your coordinates like we mentioned earlier. So I'm guessing it's smart enough to know that you're in the southern hemisphere, and
Yeah.
then takes it from there. And it handled that with the meridian flip and the guiding. Even after the meridian flip, the guiding was fine. So it wasn't like it was chasing the deck after the flip, or it worked great. And then the equipment that we had, I mean, as I mentioned, this is what Tim had brought with him. I don't know how you get all this in the plane. I mentioned about those batteries. He was doing a lot of star trails, Milky Way stuff. That's one of the reasons for all the cameras, the traditional full frame cameras. Two of them were modified, and then the S50 and the S30 Pro. And then this is what I took, which I mentioned, and then I had the Dwarf Mini. I have never done anything with trying to do Milky Way. I did take a modified Canon R8 with me. They convinced me to follow him the one night to try to take an image, which I'm going to show it to you. The subject matter and the location made it extremely easy. It was one shot. I didn't have to do foreground and background or any of that stuff. I kind of got the bug though. It was a lot of fun. And these are our guys. That's Moreau on the left and David on the right. David is from France. He comes to San Pedro de Atacama during season and works as a guide for hire. Moreau tries to grab him whenever he can. These two guys were a hoot, and you get an idea of what a meal looks like in the middle of nowhere in the Atacama Desert at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
That's wild.
And
Were there any language barrier issues, or was their English really good? Or
the English was really good. Thank you for asking that question. Their English was fantastic, no problem whatsoever. Um, I was a little concerned in regards to travel. I've really never done much traveling overseas. I was concerned about traveling alone and not knowing how to speak Spanish. I took some Spanish lessons prior to going, just so I knew how to ask for, where the counter was and where the gate is and that sort of thing. No issue anywhere except at JetSmart. Um, Other than that, no problems at all. My buddy Tim, who speaks, he's from Germany. He speaks German. He speaks Swedish. He speaks English. He says he speaks a little bit of Spanish, but not so much. When we joined up in Kalama, we went to a coffee shop, and he rattled off the order for both of us like he was a native, native Chilean. So it was very helpful once he was along that I didn't have to be concerned about that at all. So that's the end of the PowerPoint. That I'm going to show you some images now, if I may. Before I do that, real quick, this is a brochure that Moreau uses for his services. This is an image again that Moreau had taken. This is Vallecito. Vallecito is a location that we went back to more than once. Moreau and most of these guys, like I said, are focused on doing Milky Way, foreground, background. We really weren't focusing on that. So his original plan to move us from site to site each night, we decided, let's just keep going back to this place after we had visited 3 other sites. And the reason for that is that this was the darkest of all the dark locations, and we didn't care about different terrain each night because we weren't shooting that. We were just shooting up, and there was nothing that you could see. There was no light dome at all. 2 of the other locations, if you looked good, you could either see a little bit of light dome from San Pedro de Atacama, even though we were an hour out of town, or there are two lithium mines, or at least one lithium mine in the more or less in the area that you could see a little bit. You could see a little bit from. But again, I'm splitting hairs. Rainbow Valley, I mentioned already. This was at it has the altitude here. I think he's got two of these duplicated into 10, 10, 4. This one was a little higher than that. This had some beautiful. Actually, this is where you could see some of the light from San Pedro, but it was a nice location also. And this is the location that we bailed on because it just was too darn windy. And that gives you an idea of the
Hey, Brett,
yeah.
did you run into any other people out there in the middle of nowhere?
No, nobody at
Okay.
all. Uh, so we would travel out of San Pedro. You would be on a paved road for a while, and then you make a turn onto a road, and the road would be, it's a road, but it's not paved. It's the native soil that they would come through like with a bulldozer to just smooth it out and just make a little like a brim on each side. It's maybe a foot high that you could then that was to guide you that was where the road was. And I guess after a rain, if you will, they would have to come out and then just kind of massage that. We would travel on that for a bit, and then we would make a left or a right and just be going cross country. Again, the guide knows where we're going. But no, in fact, thanks for asking that, Steve, because I'll show you this real quick to give you an idea of the how alone we were. That's our
Like being on the
track.
moon.
That's our tracks, and that's one of the guides, and that's a 360.
No animals?
We saw some wild donkeys or mules, I forget. And then Doug, are you on the call? You're the one that asked me the question about they're similar to like a llama, but they're not. Help me out.
Alpaca?
Alpacas?
No, they weren't alpacas. Gosh darn it. I'll have to get back to you on it. I know, Steve, I mean, Doug, is he still on?
I think so. I think Doug's on.
We put Doug to sleep. I put Doug
He's
to
muted. He's muted though.
sleep. Okay. Yeah, but almost none. And in regards to like insects at that altitude, there's really nothing. So no humans, no insects, and no animals to speak of. Anyway, so I will move on. I will start with the Sea Star, just a couple images from the Sea Star. So this is it's a 30 Pro. We were trying to shoot images, stuff that was unique, if you will, to the Southern Hemisphere, stuff that was difficult, if not impossible, to image in the Northern Hemisphere. This is one of the ones that Tim had processed. And then this is the Carina Nebula. His processing of this is better than mine, I think, with the Red Cat. And I will continue with the 50. This is Southern Pinwheel. And this is the Tweezers Galaxy. I'm not familiar with any of these other than I know that they were on our list to try to shoot because we can't get to them here. Jewel Box. Banana Nebula. Tarantula Nebula. That is one that I do have the data for. I just haven't processed it yet. My apologies. And then I'll go here to my dwarf. It's a running chicken. Omega Centauri. I have that also on the red, and it just didn't turn out for some reason. Star cluster and cat's paw, and then the stuff from the red. Now I have a couple. Some of these I processed or cropped differently, so I will walk through these with you real quick. You can stop me whenever. Okay, this is the Large Magellanic Cloud. This is 9 degrees by 10 degrees, 10 degrees by 9 degrees. It's huge, and I can understand why it was named a cloud, because it does look like a cloud in that dark sky. It illuminates the sky. You hold your fist out at arm's length, and you can't really cover it. It's just enormous. Naked eye, I mean, it just looks like a white cloud. This and the small Magellanic cloud is our what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost they're both almost up but very low in the horizon all night. And shooting these was a little bit of a challenge because they were so low, but the sky was so dark it didn't really matter. But I think when I started shooting this, it was yeah, this was at the bottom part of it was about 4 degrees above the horizon.
Do you
And
use
we
any filter on this?
Now, on both the Red Cats that I had, I had the Red Cat 61, which is the 300 millimeter focal length, that had the 2600 MC Pro camera in it, and the other was the Red Cat Mini, which is it's a 51, like a 3 something scope. It's about 150, 178, I think it is, focal length. I took 2 filters with me, but I didn't use them. Actually, I went to use the one night, Steve, and promptly dropped it onto the desert sand and scraped it up. And I said to heck with it. I'm not gonna bother with it. So no, there's no filter on any of these images that I took.
That's great.
This is the fighting dragons. This is cropped tight, and then I have one that it's not cropped. This was one of the examples in which I shot it over more than one night, and because of the framing issue that I had to do some cropping to try to get something that looked aesthetically pleasing. Because you can see this is uncropped, and we have all this area over here. I kind of actually like it myself, but it's not. And then the part over here that most people would traditionally shoot is missing. But whoops, sorry about that. Let me go back here. Oh, darn. Well, here we are. We're at Row Ophiuchi. This wasn't. I would have preferred to frame it a little bit differently, but I'm kind of happy about how this came out with processing. And then I have
What was that shot with? Was that with the Red Cat or?
this is with the Red Cat. This is with the Mini Cat.
Oh, the Mini Cat. That's why it's so wide. Okay.
That's the
Right.
wide angle. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a full frame camera too. It's a 2400 MC. It's there. It's ZWO's lesser, if you will, of their full frame cameras.
And how high was that? What was the altitude of that? It had to be pretty far up there, right?
Yeah, let me take a look. That was at 29. And the altitude was 29 when this was no, I'm sorry. No, you're right. 74. 74.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was at 96 and 74. So it was about due east and pretty darn high.
That's great. Yeah, because that's always a struggle. I mean, you get a couple hours a night because it's in the northern hemisphere, right? Because it's a it's a summer object that's low to the horizon, so you just don't get a lot of time. So you could get longer exposures there with that
Oh, yeah, I could have shot that
being
for,
that high. You could shoot that most of the night probably.
I annotated this one if anybody's had any interest in taking a look at it.
Yeah, it's insane.
This is cropped. If I go back here again to this is real stuff here. This is not an artifact or a gradient. But it doesn't it yeah, some people may say, well, it doesn't belong there. So I just thought I would crop it to see if it looked any better.
I think I love that dusty stuff. I think that
Yeah.
adds a lot of character to the the target when you see the stuff that like you see it in the context of the dust and the interstellar stuff surrounding it.
There were a lot of targets there that had a bunch of that. I know that maybe part of it was that it was easy to pick up because of the conditions. Uh, this is the Carina Nebula. And this is processed a different way. And this is also on the mini cat. This is the wider angle. I'm not so sure I'm happy with either one of them. And that's also annotated. And this is the lobster. This just wasn't much color in this, but there's all this stuff. I played around with this a few times, and as I was getting closer to the deadline here, I just said it's good enough for now. And this is the small Magellanic Cloud. I really like this guy up here.
Yeah, 47 Tuscany, right? Is that I think, right?
I don't know, and I didn't
I think
annotate this
I think the globular near the small Magellanic is 47 Tuscany. I think.
I will check later. Yeah, I'll check. And this is my edit of the Blue Horsehead Nebula.
Wow.
Most people don't frame it this way or this close. Usually, most people see you have it back here. You can see more of the body. I thought this was kind of neat because it makes it pretty pronounced to see the actual horse head. And I do like the way the colors came out on this.
That's really nice, Brett.
Thanks.
I like that. Like them all, actually. Those are all great shots you have.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Steve. And this is we kind of went through this once before, Fighting Dragon, and we're back to the large Magellanic, and then I think I just have the one more, which is yeah, the Milky Way shot that I mentioned that Gary had in the intro. This shot was Tim and Moreau were going out looking for some spots that had some landscape that would be nice features to do an astro landscape or whatever term you want to use for that type of photography. This is pretty famous. If you go to that area, most people shoot this. There's also another one that's a beat up bus they refer to as the magic bus that people go to shoot. While they were there, I tagged along and I didn't want to take up their time. I've never done any kind of work like this. And I'll tell you how easy this was. Moreau told me, set the camera to this gain, set it to this ISO, set it to this, I'm sorry, this ISO, set it to this exposure, put the camera right here, point it right there. This is the frame you want. And I snapped the picture. That's it. That's one exposure of 20 seconds. One exposure, nothing else. That's all natural lighting, except that there was just a quick paint of that feature, if you will, by Moreau sometime during the 20-second exposure. And this is really this is how it came out of the camera.
Brett, you missed one step.
What's that?
focus your camera. That's the
Focus
hardest
the
part with Milky Way photography is getting
Oh,
everything in focus.
well, you know what? That's a really good point because the night before when we were at the Rainbow Valley, I was just going to monkey around with it on my own a little bit, and Monroe came over and was showing me some tips on how to get the focus of the stars, right? Because
Yeah,
it's not infinity on your lens, at least
not
not
anymore.
mine. Yeah, and it was yeah, you're right. It was very tricky.
Well, the problem I find with a lot of nighttime landscape photography is the landscape's too close. And that's why trees and things are really hard. They're really too close to you. So if you get the stars, which is what you want in focus, then the foreground's blurry. So to be able to get a nice sharp foreground and background is actually quite impressive for being a single shot.
And it just was it was the conditions. It
Mhm.
was the Milky Way was so bright under that sky that you didn't need any illumination to walk around. You could see perfectly fine. The ground, most of the places was like this grayish, crunchy, like big chunks of sand. And the Milky Way was illuminating that enough that you could walk around and have sure footing without having like a headlamp on with a red light on. It was pretty remarkable. And no planes flying overhead. And
We still
that's
got
it.
satellites though.
That's really cool.
Still have satellites. Oh, and I also learned that lesson too when with doing the Milky Way photography, say early in the morning or just just at night. Um, the the because of where the sun is, all those low orbit satellites are getting much more reflection, if you will, and you see them like crazy. And you're trying to do this kind of work, and you have all those satellite trails. I fortunately didn't have anything in this picture. So I have some others to process. I spent some time on two targets. The Centaurus A, which I just was not happy with the way it came out, and then the Snake Nebula, which is a dark nebula. I have a lot of hours in that, and it looks pretty cool, but I can't get it. Just not happy with the way it processed it. I'd be happy to post that on my Google Drive with all the well, stacked, I guess is I'll have it stacked. If anybody wants to take a stab at it, it would be might be some interesting homework and like a little workshop, and somebody or maybe a couple people could report back with their results at a future meeting.
Hey, John, there you go. There's your December meeting. We all process a photo together.
There you go.
That'd be awesome.
I also have the Pan Star. I don't have the actual comet. I shot that in the same frame with M42. I've never processed anything like that. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but it's pretty pronounced. You see the comet and its tail really well, and like I said, it's all in the same frame with Orion. That I can post there too. That unstacked. Because I haven't even thought about how to put that all together with the individual fits files. If somebody wants to take a crack at that also.
You're saying well you could post that you're because of the way of dealing with the comet if you're doing comet centric stacking, you mean you would need the individual uh subs that are pre-aligned, basically calibrated and aligned.
I haven't even given it a thought. I mean,
Yeah,
the comet's moving, faster than what I'm tracking the rest of the sky. So I don't know how to do that.
right, yeah.
But I
I would
can
say you would
post.
almost do it the same as you do a Milky Way shot, where you make the comet probably the foreground and everything else. So you essentially separate it into two layers, process them separately, and then recombine them.
Yeah, I mean, that is what you do, but you have to do the calibration and the alignment first, right? So, because if you want, it depends what you want to do. If you want to have it so that it's not like a realistic photo, which is what most people do, where the comet the comet is shown with no motion and the stars are shown with no motion, then you need to separate them and you need to first star align and then the comet smeared and then you do a comet align on the calibrated aligned subs so that the comet's in the same orientation and then you separate them out, you do a star extraction, then you separate them out and then you recombine them. So you can do it that way. If you want to do a simpler approach, you could calibrate them and you could just do a comet alignment and then have the stars blur. The stars would streak.
But with
That's really how it's shown, how it is in reality. Most people don't do it that way. In the past, that's kind of the way it was always done. You just had because they didn't have the tools to do all the star extraction, all that stuff. And most people didn't do enough subs to be able to have the averaging, the actual stacking averaging with, outlier rejection and all that, do the work of making sort of the stars somewhat go away. So I guess that would be, I guess my point is that would be a harder one to post because you're going to be posting all of your subframes, which is a lot of data, right? You're talking, was that shot with the wide angle with your full frame? So you're talking 90, 60 or 70 meg per frame.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would I mean, I think it's an interesting exercise, but that would be, I think, a harder one to post compared to posting like a stacked,
Right.
a calibrated stacked fits file,
Right.
for people to work on.
Yeah. I'm gonna look to see how many
Yeah.
I had of that. I don't have it up here. That was it. That's what I had. That's what I have processed. Well, oh, and lesson learned. I had put together. Both Tim and I had put together a target list. That went out the window the first night. It's just again too optimistic. My advice and my intent the next time I would do something like this is have specifically focus on getting good data from one target each night, and anything you get above that is a bonus. But at least you know at the end of the night you've got one good set of fits, if you will, to process.
Yeah.
I mean, even 15 minutes on a target there is probably better than what we get in this area.
Right.
So
Right.
you don't need a lot of time to still get better than what we could.
Yeah. So like I mentioned at the beginning, one of the things that wasn't the primary goal was to just try to put some things together for a possible workshop in the for this spring, and that's coming along. If anybody's interested, I'll keep you in the loop as I'll go along. And again, I would two plugs real quick. I would encourage you to subscribe to Cosmic Captures. It's a good guy, and if you're going to consider going to that area, I'll give you the contact information for Moto. He was fantastic.
How did you prepare for the weather? I mean, as you said, it was really cold. Like, did he give you a lot of guidance and things, or was that kind of you just did your research? Like, I guess how much did he help you prepare for your trip coming down versus how much did he do when you were there?
Any questions that we had, he would answer, and he did provide some things specifically. What he focused on that I remember the most was the getting acclimated to the altitude. There's a local drink that some folks take that's supposed to help with it. I didn't do that.
Is it
You can't.
chlorophyll?
Pardon me?
Is
Probably
it
coca
chlorophyll
leaf.
based?
No, it's probably coca leaf.
It's like, well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, and
Which part?
there is a prescription medicine that you can take as a prophylactic. You start to take it a few days before you go. I actually had that prescription. I started to take it and I just said the heck with it. Um, but we like I said, we started at 700, 800 feet. We were there for 3 or 4 days and we never really got terribly high. But that altitude, it's colder. I mean, it was cold. So in regard, so we did discuss the weather with him. I packed what I thought was, you know how this goes. You figure, okay, this is what I'm going to need for cold weather. Now I'm going to double it, if you will, and it still wasn't enough. I mean, layers of wool, um, a really really heavy winter coat on top of several layers, and a very heavily insulated layer that's right against your skin, several layers on the bottom, and then the last bottom were ski pants. I had heated socks, but you're just out there, it's not moving, uh, and it's this dry air, and it's 25 degrees. Um, I don't know I just know it was below freezing because, like I said, when we got up in the morning, a water bottle would be, I'm not frozen solid, but it would have, a lot of ice crystals and stuff in it. And then we had tents, and forgot to show you the picture of that. They would set up a tent. Tim and I had a tent, and he had a cot in there and a sleeping bag. Tim chose to, when he did try to take something to sleep, he would just pull the cot out and just sleep under the stars. I was taking advantage of any additional warmth that there may be by my body heat in the large tent, as opposed to being outside. And you got a little sleep in, but you just couldn't get the edge off of the cold with so it wasn't comfortable sleep. Uh, I don't know what else. I don't know how you would pack more clothes because you can only pack so much stuff.
Take less gear.
Well, I'm definitely taking less gear the next time, any of the trips I go on. The first one of these I went to the second one I went on was to Gila, New Mexico, and I did 2 rigs out there, and I have a terrible memory because I guess I didn't remember how much of a pain in the neck that was, and I did the same on this trip.
That's wild. Thanks for sharing that with us, that whole experience. It's just an insane, and I mean that in a positive way. It's a really cool insanity to go to do something like that.
The town also was great. The people were fantastic. There's no crime. Uh, every place we went for dinner, there was live music. At lunch, there would be live music, and it was all kinds of music, really good stuff. The meals were good. Um, yeah, nice tip, nice area.
There's no crime because if there's any crime, they could stick them out in the desert and tell them to walk back, and
I guess
I
I guess
think
the one of the deterrents for crime might be that you can't hide anywhere.
well, and there's also the leftover from previous previous leadership that we won't, that wasn't too kind to the population. So there's that, I guess.
curious, did you need a visa or anything to travel down there? I mean,
Yeah,
or is there?
yes, you needed a visa, and no, not a visa. No, I'm sorry, you did not need a visa. They just gave you this PDI when you got there that you had to show them when you left. I still don't quite understand the purpose of it. Um, there wasn't any issue with bringing anything in. Um, there wasn't. I didn't have any problems with customs at all, really. I mean, most of the times when I travel with the gear, I don't know what your guys' experience has been. They they do open my carry-on to take a look to see what I have in there because it's a little odd. Um, they just ask you what it is, and you say camera gear, and then you go on your way.
PDI
Actually,
supposedly is the police investigation of Chile.
Right. Yeah.
And it's their border immigration, so it's just a tourist card based on a quick lookup.
Right.
So that's what PDI is for.
Don't lose it. Uh, the the one of the security checks, I can't remember where it was the first time that they actually took one of the batteries that I had. I think I did take two of those 99 watt hour batteries, those small rigs, because they took it out and actually read the specifications on it to see that it was, assuming they were looking to see if it was under the 100 watt hour limit. That's the first time I've seen that happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I'm concerned that that's going to get more stringent. You hear, on the news pretty regularly about laptops catching on fire. There was one last week that's four or five passengers that were near the person whose laptop battery caught on fire, wound up getting burned, and they had to, you know, land real fast, and the fire department came in, all this stuff. It was on the news about maybe 3 or 4 nights ago, something like that. Um,
Do,
it
do,
just
do,
it just makes me think that more and more, with the how prolific lithium ion batteries are, that if anything, I would think that restrictions could start getting worse, which would make it more difficult, for doing remote kind of
yeah.
operation.
Do they, do the airlines, does the crew carry like gloves and a blanket or something that they can, do you know what
On
they're,
the one that I said I saw, they at least have fire extinguishers. I don't know the exact uh, equipment, but they have supposedly training specifically for lithium ion batteries.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, you hope that they have some pouch or something they can shove it in if it's
Yeah, right.
within enough, but at least fire extinguishers.
Yeah, I think they burn so hot it's even tough. Like I saw some stuff with this was earlier on, a handful of years ago, when the Teslas were starting to gain popularity. There were some of those that caught on fire. I'm not sure what technology they use for batteries. I don't know if it's nickel metal hydride. I'm guessing it might be lithium, just
It's
because
lithium.
they advertise as being really lightweight cars and stuff. But when the if a car would catch on fire, if the batteries would catch on fire, you would see the fire department and all the emergency people just standing around. They just let it burn out, because anything they put on it, that foam stuff or all that, it didn't even do anything. It was
Supposedly
so hot.
nowadays, they actually, after they get it under control, they actually put it in a pool for like a month.
Oh,
Like
geez.
it stays hot for an extended period of time, and yeah, so they supposedly like dunk them in a pool to ensure they're fully cooled off so that they don't reignite at a later date. So
Yeah,
a lot of energy.
I've heard stories that they say if the Tesla catches fire in a home in the garage, that they just wait, the house burned because there's no
Yeah,
point in
house
trying to
burns
put
down.
can't,
Yeah,
they
Don't
can't
park
put
your
it
Tesla
out.
in a
Yeah.
garage.
What's
yeah.
that?
Just don't park your Tesla in the garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, well, thank you, Brett. Thank you. Any other questions for Brett before we open it up for show and tell and stuff?
No, that's great. I was exciting to see some of your photographs, and you're doing great on the processing. And you have so much data. It's ridiculous. It's
Thank you.
one question I had was with managing two rigs, were you trying to keep them together as much as possible? So it's like less setup time, or did you have any strategy for like one camera was always on the same rig and you just like didn't take it apart as much, or how'd you do that?
So the one rig I had to kind of disassemble for transport each day. And that was also kind of a pain in the neck, and also with camera rotation and the other rig, I I actually kept it on the tripod with the mount and carried it into the front seat of the car and just sat there with it. So that made it
Hold your
pretty
baby.
easy. I just brought it out and put it in place. And both rigs were we would set up right next to each other. The terrain was uneven, but you would find these areas that were kind of flat, and you look around, you'd find a spot there, and you would set the stuff up, all pretty much all in the same, 20 by 30 area or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And if you do wind up posting anything like your stacked fits for the images you said, I'd be interested in playing with it.
Okay.
If there's anyone else who, you know, whatever, we could just do it as one of the show and tells at one of the upcoming meetings. Or you can do it in December. I'll just send you the stuff, John.
I will do that because I tried the Centaurus A, and I just couldn't, just wasn't happy with it, and I didn't touch this Snake Nebula, but it's all this dark, and I got a lot of integration time on that one because I thought maybe I needed it, but I'd love to see what other folks do with it. I will post. I'm not going to be able to get to it to and put it in the chat tonight. Gary, what should I do? Should I just put it in the news group or?
You can do it through the maybe through the Astro Imager, through the forum, maybe the Astrophotography forum, because I think you can post up to 300 or 400 meg. You can put an attachment, or if you're just sending
I'll
a
do a
link
link.
to your Dropbox, just do it through the Astro Imagers. This way, it's not
Okay.
you know, cluttering sort of the
The IO.
yeah, the main you know, email group kind of thing.
Okay.
The groups.io thing.
I'll do that. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you. I do have I actually grabbed an image from just my screensavers. I had a so I'm not even sure what is it. It was some handful of years ago. Of a comet processed. This was back in 2023, I think. So I'm going to just share real quick since it's kind of on topic with what you were talking about.
Ooh.
Let me just do it over here. So this is what I was talking about. So this is a comet picture that's done, that's just combined
You're not sharing your
with the
screen, Gary.
comet being the alignment point. And
Gary, you're not sharing
I
your
didn't
screen.
bother, you know, doing the stars. If you look at that compared to that,
We don't
this
see your
is
screen.
how you tend to see them nowadays, because people do this, you know, like I did here. This is
Gary, we don't
shot-
see your screen. Gary, we can't see your screen.
there you go.
See, my voice still here.
It does.
Got it?
I don't know why it's not coming up. I don't see it.
Oh,
That's odd. It's
that is
usually the
odd,
other way.
'cause I
Usually, it's
did
usually
the-
the other way around.
I'm gonna close. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna stop the share because I tried to share the screen. Hold on. I'm gonna try it again. Screen 2, share.
Something's coming now.
Okay, here we go. I don't know
There
why.
we go. There we go. Zoom was lying to you.
Yeah, it was. Sorry about that. So this is a comet picture taken 3 or 4 years ago that was done with the alignment on the comet itself without doing the actual separation and then the stars. So like years ago, this is what you would do. You would track on a comet and then the stars would just do their natural thing, right? You know, based on the apparent movement of the comet across the sky, compared to the more common approach now, where you have a comet and then you have the star field and you process them separately, extract out the comet and then align on the comet, stack that, and then recombine it later on. So those are just two different approaches to comet processing. This is like an older style where people used to just let the stars trail. In fact, even I know Dick Steinberg has posted some images in the last couple years where he's just let the stars trail because it gives you a sense of how the comet's moving across the sky. This is 33 minutes of integration time. So this was a comet that had a relatively high apparent motion, and you can see how much it moved against the background stars in 33 minutes. So just to give you an idea that this is similar. This is actually just coincidentally 35 minutes, so almost the same amount of integration time.
I'd be
But
curious on how that one looks with it, because I mean, the first one, the comet's not as pronounced, and so the photo itself looks a little busy, with both things with it. It'd be interesting, I'm not telling you to do it, but it'd be interesting to see how each one looked if you would process it the opposite way.
yeah, and it's easy to do it that way because you just do a comment. You calibrate the frames, you register the frames, and then you do a comet alignment. You generate another set of frames that are aligned on the comet. Then you just combine those.
Can PixInsight do the comet align?
What's
Or
that?
what tool do you use for the comet align?
And PixInsight, there's a comet alignment
Okay.
process.
Okay.
I use that. I mean, this was done. I don't think I had PixInsight in 23. I might have. It's possible. I'd have to look back to that image. Yeah, I did. I think I bought it in 22. I think I bought it in 22, late in 22. But there are a number of tutorials on Comet processing that kind of go through the steps. The thing that makes it a lot easier now is that Star Exterminator can run in a batch mode. They added Russell Croman added a feature to that a couple years ago to let it run in batch mode. In the past, you used to have to do, like, they were called process containers, where you needed to actually do the image container and then the process container and then drop one on the other, and it would, take whatever image is in the image container and run whatever processes you had in the process, the sort of the process queue. That's how PixInsight did it in the past. But with Star Exterminator, you can actually just batch it using that tool, and it'll just sit there and it'll extract the comment out of every image. So you would do a comment alignment first. You take that set of subs that are aligned on the comment, then you'd run them through Star Exterminator, get rid of all the stars. Then you could stack just the comet. There are a number of ways to do it, but that's kind of the gist of it. You're working with all of it separately. It gets harder if you're doing RGB, because now you have to deal with each of the channels separately. So if you're doing a mono camera with like LRGB and comet processing, it adds another level of complexity to it. But you're shooting one shot color on these, so
Yeah.
that'll simplify it.
Yeah.
We can talk about it more tomorrow if you
Yeah.
want.
Okay.
So I heard that Starfront had some decent weather recently, so I'm guessing maybe there's some show and tell stuff that came from Texas, and or even from New Mexico or anything like that. The weather here has been kind of lousy, even though we had a couple good nights the last few nights. The moon was somewhat up until about 1:32 to 2:30, 3:30 in the morning. So anyone want to share anything?
I got a couple. Actually, I have quite a few that I haven't finished processing. Kind of in the same boat as other people. Um, but I got a couple I can show from Starfront.
Let me double check you can share one sec. Yes. Okay. See if that'll help you out.
You see that?
Not yet.
Yeah.
There it comes.
There it goes. Yeah. Oh, cool.
So this North American Nebula
You fit the whole thing.
with the S30 Pro from Starfront.
That's really good.
So what did you do, Steve, with the sort of the false color with it? Is that shot with the dual band and then the colors adjusted, or how did you do that?
So yeah, this is with the LP filter. And then in PixInsight, the HOO palette
Yeah.
in the narrowband tool. So that's what gives the off color. It gives you a little more contrast. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't. I think it came out pretty good here.
Yeah, it looks great.
It looks great. Really like it.
This is
That's separating the channels and then doing the HOO palette.
not really separating the channels, no. What's the name of the tool? Narrow band normalization in PixInsight.
Okay,
Have you ever used that?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So you can step through HOO, HSO. There's several of them. And then there's some selections for tweaking. And this probably I did an extra oxygen 3 boost on it to bring out the blue more.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it brings out the blue everywhere, but in this particular image, it brought the center out more, which I liked.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it's 60-second subs, and this is 15 hours of integration.
Wow.
So with the S30, that stupid tiny little telescope, I've found for what I want to get out of it, I've got to spend a lot of integration time. And even at that, I've spent 20 to 30 hours on some faint objects that I was convinced I could get. And in the end, they just didn't, just didn't have enough signal, and I just trashed the whole 20 or 30 hours of time.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of what I'm doing, the results I get. I don't know what I'm going to get until a lot of time later, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm
That's
more
great,
about
Scott.
a lot of integration on one thing, spending multiple nights on one thing, and then seeing what I can do with it.
Yeah. Are you because the S30 Pro is not a cooled camera, do you think that the like part of the reason for those long integrations is to get the noise floor
Absolutely.
down, even though you're in a dark sky site?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's 100 degrees there. And and like you say, and I'm doing continuous capturing now. So there isn't any break in between. I'm just, I don't know what temperature the camera is getting at. I'm not sure if maybe in the FITS file header I can read that. I have to go back and look. But you're right, that's a concern. And I have the dew heater on. So there's a lot of heat in that camera.
Oh, right, yeah. That's great result.
So this is clamshell. This I backed off to 20-second subs on this because I was having trouble with the 60-second subs. And this is 5 hours of integration. And I'm not really too thrilled with it. I did go back and collect some more time. And this is 15 hours and processed with the HOO palette from PixInsight. So it's a different look at it. I don't know. Some people may like it, some not. It's still not quite what I was hoping for, but it kind of gives more detail.
It's wild, yeah.
So those are really the only two that I have to show at this point. All right, where do I shut this off? Stop sharing.
There you go.
That's all I got for now.
That's
Steve,
great.
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering that North American Nebula, isn't that predominantly hydrogen alpha?
Well, yeah, see if I have the
the ones I
original.
Were
It is almost all red.
red,
I
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find the original before I started mucking around with it. But you're right. Once you start getting to these other palettes, you're changing the colors. That is
Okay.
true. And I guess the scientific excuse is to get more detail and more contrast.
Okay, I just didn't understand. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I was hoping I could find it here just to give you an example. Don't know where it is. But you're right. It's kind of false color if you want to look at it that way.
Okay.
It's a different color palette.
Hmm.
But you're right. The original probably looks almost all red.
Yeah, you'll see a little bit of whitish stuff in it, which is like the oxygen 3. So by doing the mapping, the HOO, you're putting that oxygen data in both the green and blue channels.
And I know I boosted the oxygen 3 even
Yeah.
more so than what was originally there.
And they keep in mind too that the dual band, that dual band in the S30 Pro is rather wide.
Yeah.
Right? It isn't like a super narrow, like a 3 nanometer or 2.5 nanometer, narrow band hydrogen alpha or O3. It's I don't know if I think it might be like 20 nanometers or something like that.
Yeah.
Does anybody use ASI Air?
I do. I use it all the time. I have 3 of them.
A friend of mine actually gave me a 10-inch LX200 that I got. It was in bad shape. I got it going, but he has Canon EF lenses, and he uses ASI 2600 Duo, and he's shooting wide open. I told him there's an astrophysics adapter that controls both the iris and the focus that he could get. And his question to me was, does it work with ASI Air? So it's
Probably not.
compliant. Pardon?
Probably not. No, it's a closed system, ASI Air.
Really? Oh,
It's only really ZWO stuff except for the mounts. It'll control other mounts, but as far as cameras and focusers and stuff like that, they've been getting some pressure from people to at least open it up to external focusers because there's some clones to their EAF, the ZWO EAF, that
Right.
are, a third the price or
Yeah.
certainly less than half the price.
I have two of them.
And but they haven't budged yet.
But so ASCOM doesn't matter. ASCOM compliant.
You kind of have to go with Nina or something, or
Yeah,
SharpCaf if you want to do the ASCOM type stuff.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as like if you look at like PCs versus Apple,
Yeah.
right? Like Apple kept a closed system to keep it easier to use, right? That's the bottom line. And you can look at it and say, well, they just want to sell their own stuff, and I'm sure that's part of it. But it also, as a person that was involved in the electronics world, system integration can be a royal pain in the butt, and because everything's always changing all the time, and it's hard to keep all the drivers updated and keep all this stuff. So by having a closed architecture, I think it does contribute to ease of use, and that's probably one of their big motivators too. I'm sure financially, it's a motivator because they have good products and people buy their products. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I told him at the outset, just stick the lens on your camera because he just uses one filter. It's not like mono. Anyway, I just said put it on your camera, stop it down, hold the depth of field preview, turn the camera off. Then it stays at the f-stop you choose. He was shooting wide open, and we all know that's not really great for sharpness. So
yeah, for most lenses, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Any other pictures, people to share? Go ahead, Brett.
I have, I guess, what you would call first light from Starfront finally for the scope that I'm about to pull from there.
Nice. This is from Blue.
This is from Blue, yeah. This is the Wizard Nebula in a Hubble palette.
Yeah.
That's great.
About
Cool.
about 22 hours. And it's RGB stars.
Yeah, it looks great.
Oh.
I like that. I like the palettes. I like what you showed, Steve, that HOO. I think that I like the rust color in it when you get that, that combination of the like the H alpha and the sulfur kind of, blend.
Yeah, I agree. I've done it on a couple of other things too. I've done it on a few images that I didn't like it on too, but it's different.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the same in the 4X palette, more or less, sort of.
Yeah, so this is richer in the red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the turquoise in it, from the blue and green channels combining. Nice.
Yeah. Well, so much going on in there. I love it.
Yeah,
There's good, like a depth to it.
how many hours did you say, Brett, on this?
22
22. Okay. And then from a
From-
dark sky.
from Starfront, yeah.
Yeah. What are they like Bortle 2-ish or so? What is
I think
how dark is
I think it's a Bortle 2.
Bortle 2? Yeah, that's
That's
cool.
all. That's it. Thank you.
No.
I have a little bit from a different direction. Yeah, so it's not deep sky as much, but it's using the Sea Star for more landscape related. So, from my house, I actually was just taking out the trash, and this is one of the ones where I kind of ran across just taking out the trash. I decided to take it out, and as I was kind of saying earlier, trying to get the right focus of the foreground. I mean, in this case, it ended up turning out pretty well. That it's blurred enough that it's not distracting from it, but it's just an interesting picture of how sharp and bright the moon ends up being. So,
That's cool. Yeah.
and then I got another one with it, so the moon's kind of a little bit darker with it. And I'm not quite sure how the CSAR determines the exposure with it. I don't think on either one of these I actually change the exposure. So sometimes I think it actually might overexpose it sometimes. This one has a lot more blue in it. And that one was at 8:30 and that was at 9 o'clock. So about the same time. And I'm pretty sure that's the same tree. But there's also ones where it is good for sunrise sunsets with it. So it's nice to just try to get some videos of the sunrise sunset with it. So if you're setting up and all of that, it gives you something to kind of do in addition. So this was down at the Delaware seashore. So that's the sunset, and then this is a couple minutes earlier in the sunset, but they're both, one's from the wide angle and one's from the telephoto with it. So and then lastly, I had it set up and it was just kind of interesting. You can also use it for landscape photography. So, it gives a little bit of different things you can do. So, even if you're not out all night, that you can do stuff during the day as well. So just different framing of different things you can do.
Yeah, that's cool. Was that one with the sunset a time lapse? Is that how that was taken?
Mm-hmm. Well, so this is actually a time lapse, but I actually slowed it down because the time lapse they go like super fast with it. So I still haven't quite figured out how long, like how many frames it takes for the Sea Star to create a time lapse. Like, because I don't know the exact duration that the photo was, but I mean it was like I think it was 5 minutes, and it only created like a 2-second time lapse. So
Oh, so it might put them together in like the video. It might just set the interval between the pictures and then put it together at like a video frame rate.
yeah, right. No, that's
Yeah.
what I mean. That one was edited. Like that one, I actually went in and slowed it down.
Right. Yeah. That makes
This
sense.
this is real time. So I mean, in 2 seconds, it goes through, I think, 5 minutes worth of data.
Okay.
So
Got the first one of the moon, that's just a single shot?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Did you just have it, did you just kept snapping until you got one that was that clear, or just
so these two are at the same time. I think so. I think this is either 2x or 4x. It doesn't say on here. And
wow.
yeah, so I mean, and that was things. I'm actually surprised at how well it did it. I don't recall exactly how much I did. I know I didn't spend much time because I literally went to take out the trash and I saw it, and where this tree is and the moon. I didn't have much time with it, but I mean, I think I just focused on the moon and let it take it. But there's the scenery mode. And then there's the actual like solar system. I think this was actually the scenery mode. And then I think this one, because you can see it actually says moon. This one I think is actually the solar system one. So I think that's why the exposures are slightly different. Is it does it on different exposures depending on which setting it is. So it's still trying to learn a little bit of the different settings. But it was still kind of nice to kind of get something. Actually, kind of like this. I wish it was up just a little bit more, but I kind of like it where you got the foreground background effect to it.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott,
Yeah.
have you ever used the Milky Way mode?
Yes. So this one, oh, there you go. So this is a time lapse built of the star trail, so that uses the Milky Way mode on it. About a month ago or so, they did change it where star trails were part of Milky Way, and actually, if you took a picture of it, it actually would say Milky Way. But I think they updated it so that the Milky Way and the star trails, even though they're within the same section, they are making the star trails a little bit separate of it. But let me see. I had another one when I was
I only tried using it once and I couldn't see anything and I was confused about how to
so
set it up.
there.
Same.
That's a Milky Way one from Cherry Springs. So
Okay.
um
So you just set it for a time, 21 minutes?
uh I don't think it gives you a duration, and I actually think that's one of the shortcomings of it. I want to say the Star Trails they might have added that where you can do it, but this one I'm pretty sure I just clicked it, told it to run, and then I hit the stop button. I
Okay.
mean, most of my stuff I don't do as plans or anything. I just start it, wait till I feel like there's enough, and then I manually hit it. So it's mostly manual stop and start times.
So in the viewfinder, were you seeing what we're looking at here or
Mhm.
not
Yeah,
until you
like
stopped and it did some processing?
no, it does live stacking. So
Okay.
you saw this is what you saw on it. With pretty much any of the ones that have the C star at the bottom, I haven't done any additional processing. And honestly, I know C star has the AI enhance. I don't really care for it. I think it kind of does it a little bit wonky. I would rather process it myself with it, but every so often I've done the AI enhance and it's okay sometimes, but other times I just feel like it kind of messes it up too much. So I kind of just like it more the raw directly out of the uh smart telescopes until I get a chance to process it myself and then
All right.
do the stacking and everything.
Yep. Thanks.
So yeah, that's all I had.
Cool. Thank you, Scott.
While we're on landscape, I have a couple from the coast of Maine from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Justin.
For
Sure, there, yeah, there we go. Hopefully that works.
coming.
Let me know if that.
There you go.
Yeah.
That popped in.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. So this one was a little fun because there's a lighthouse out here that was rotating. So this is just a single frame. But once the clouds cleared and I tried to get a little bit more detail, it was kind of fun. I set up the timing of the shots of the intervals on the camera so that the lighthouse was the same direction every time. Because otherwise you'd occasionally have it
Clever.
pointing at the camera or pointing in different direction, which just made a little bit more of a mess of things. So that later in the night, this is about an hour and a half of 15-second exposures averaged in there. It's in Booth Bay Harbor, which is not as dark as you might think, with Portsmouth and Portland's the glow off to the right there, looking south. They're a little bit south and to the west, but still very pretty. And then, when I'm doing Milky Way photography, I always like to turn around and do a little star trail thing on the other side. So this is sort of out on the coastline where I'd hike to get away from the town lights. So
Yeah, that's
Oh,
cool.
that's a deep Star Trails.
yeah, that I think is about 32 minutes. Just
Cool. I love how the tree's
Over
kind of
there.
pointing at the middle.
Yeah, and I actually didn't have to do any painting. This is the light from that lighthouse way out, just sort of aggregating
it for
over
you.
the course of the time. Yep, exactly.
Cool.
That's
What
very
camera
cool.
did you use for those?
It's just a Sony A7 IV with a 14 millimeter f1.8 lens on it.
Hmm.
Big chunk of glass.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one just because it's it's first of all, it's prime, so it doesn't shift on me. I have a couple zoom lenses that unfortunately, if you point them up, the weight just slowly settles them down. But I
That's
can
really
get-
different. I like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen one that dense before.
Yeah, I like playing around sort of, different things. You tend to lose some of the color when you go that deep with it. If you do shorter exposures and get a little bit less, you get less stars, but you can see more of the color. Tends to make everything look a little bit more white. And also the Milky Way there is bright enough still that sort of this smears the right half of it, gets a little, sort of messier than
Just
down here. The lighter skies actually help.
Justin, could you zoom into the center of that image?
Sure. And I see a satellite I didn't get rid of, but
Yeah, they're always, it's funny how you think you got them all, and then you
Yep.
look at it again and, oh, wait a minute, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
cool.
Yeah. I mean,
I
that's
feel like
at
I'm getting
100%.
hypnotized.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep going in, but
Wow.
That's cool. On that first, oh yeah, there's a satellite. On that first image, how much time do you have on the sky approximately? The one with the landscape with the lighthouse in the distance.
this is probably, I have to go back and look, but probably about 13, 14 seconds.
Okay.
Any longer, and the star, I mean, you can see the stars are already moving, especially in the corners, but any longer than that, I get more trails than I really want. So
Yeah.
It's a really nice single photo, even. Like it just got it's got a lot in it, but not too busy. So it makes a really nice photo.
Really
So,
nice.
so is that composited with the foreground?
no, that's a single shot.
Single shot. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm
And
curious.
it's edited with masks separately. So in that sense, yes, it's not it's not a PixInsight mathematically pure across the whole screen kind of edit, but
No.
it's
Yeah.
one for it's one frame.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had to do any kind of integration on the sky to get the Milky Way to be that prominent, but
No, not no.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
So
Nice composition too.
Booth Bay?
This is from well, it's Ocean Harbor, but the nearest town is Booth Bay Harbor.
Okay. I've been to Casco Bay down Chebeague Island. That was nice there.
Yeah.
The light's a lot worse than 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I like I love Maine, first of all, but I like looking for places where there's something up because the dark skies are off the coast. If I'm going to do something like this, trying to find this island I thought was going to be a little bit bigger in the frame than it ended up being, the one sort of in the center here. But try to find something at least other than just rocks in the foreground to put out there when you're looking back south to Milky Way.
That's a really nice composition. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Scouting in the daylight is definitely key. Especially, at the beginning of the night, it was high tide, so I'm about as far out as I can get without getting wet. And this is about 3 a.m., 4 or 5 hours later. You can see how far down it is, but you got to start somewhere. So,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I were just at for the first time in Old Orchard Beach, Maine. So I guess it's not too far from where you were. It's near like South Portland.
yep. Yeah, just for the Milky Way, at least get a little bit farther up so that the coastline's pointing you south instead of east.
Right. Yeah, that's nice.
What?
Cool.
Mhm.
I have a couple from this is actually one from a project I was working on with Al Lamperti that we wound up bagging. I'm gonna make sure
Coming up.
I can see it this time. Yeah, I can see it
There
this
you
time. So this is called Coddington's Galaxy. And this is it's incredibly faint. It's considered a dwarf galaxy. And this is if you look at this image, how noisy it is.
It's just seeing your desktop.
Oh, I got it. I'm sorry, it popped up on the wrong screen.
There you go.
Sorry. So this is called Coddington's Galaxy. It's IC 2574. And this was shot. This is shot with about 1200 millimeter focal length. It's shot with a 6-inch SCT with a focal reducer, 0.67 focal reducer. But the interesting thing to me was like when I was shooting this it was for a project Al Lamperti was working on for Sky and Telescope magazine. And look how much noise is in this image. This is 9 hours and 12 minutes of data.
Wow.
And this thing was so faint that on any particular sub, you saw nothing. There was actually, no, I mean, other than the background stars. So there was no sub that, that lets you know you're even in the right place, other than looking at the star field and saying, I think I'm pointed in the right place. We wound up bagging the project just because there was an article done by someone else that had some of the same targets that Al was looking at highlighting. He was focusing on dwarf galaxies. But I hadn't shown this before because I had just sent it to Al, and I wasn't planning on doing anything with it beyond, what his needs were. But I thought it would be an interesting example to the group just because of how faint, and this is shot in my backyard, so this is like Bortle 6. So it's not like I was at Cherry Springs doing this where I had, um, a chance to do deeper, longer exposures without picking up, to get a little more depth without the noise.
Sounds like a challenge next time you go up there.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. It's not that, to me, it's not that interesting a target, but
How cropped is it? Like,
it's
is
not
that
cropped at all. This is
okay?
it's a 533 camera, so it's the square, 3,000 pixels per axis, 1 inch square sensor. So I mean, other than the tiny bit around the corners, just because of the dithering. So there's a little bit taken off. So that's 1220 millimeter focal length, for like 9 hours, and that was the result. So anyway, that's more of an example.
It's funny it's called a nebula because you said it's a dwarf galaxy.
Yeah, it's a dwarf galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called Coddington's galaxy.
Right, it's fairly large, but you're right, it's super low brightness.
Super low brightness. And
Yeah.
in fact, there were some of the targets on his, like I would say he had about 12 targets on his list. And I played with about 5 or 6 of them, and I think only one I could see something. And
Wow.
it's sort of like, okay, I need a little more eye candy than that.
Yeah,
But
that's
when
hard
you're
work.
putting in that kind of time
Yeah.
to do something, especially, around here, because you don't get that many good nights.
No.
So
Um,
you'd bin this 2x2, did I see?
I did on this one. I did bin this, and it wound up coming out better. This was one of the ones I did the experiment on. I did it on M51, and I did it on this where I tried binning afterwards or binning right before I did any processing. And in both cases, the results came out better if I binned immediately.
So it brought more of the signal out by binning?
Yeah, it improved. It seemed to improve the signal and noise. I actually got more detail, which is interesting. Like in this region, I wonder if let me see if I have I'm going to move it out of the way. Just let me I think I have a shortcut here. Let me see if I don't know if I have the comparison on this. I don't think I do. I don't think I have the comparison. Um, yeah, I don't have it. I might have it in a different folder because I processed this a number of times. As you can see, this is like 4 nights. So if I go here, I shot it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nights. I tried processing it after 2 nights, 3 nights, and it's kind of like, what am I getting out of this? Then five nights worth of data. I was wound up like it became a lifestyle, and I wound up, just at that point saying that's enough of it.
Well, that reminds me of what I'm doing now. I'm trying for some
Yeah, I
really
don't.
faint things and I'm putting a lot of time in and I'm scratching my head. I'm saying, well, just one more night, just one more night.
Yeah,
Then I end up throwing it all away.
Oh, yeah.
Gary, did Al buy you a hard drive to hold all the data?
Oh, I've got a couple of 20 terabyte drives.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
wound up borrowing the club's Lunt telescope just to kind of play around with it, and I wound up shooting that partial solar eclipse. This is about midpoint of the one that was just on the 12th, and if I get some time, I want to try doing an animation. I actually shot 1 minute intervals. I did a video every 30 seconds. I did a 10-second video, which was about 400 or 500 frames every 30 seconds for the whole duration of the eclipse. And the problem with processing it to put it into an animation is that the mount that is with that solar scope is an Alt-Az. So the sun's just doing this throughout the whole thing. So I'd literally have to bring them all into Photoshop and then, rotate them and align them and everything. And I think there's 185 shots. So it's sort of like, I don't think I'm doing that anytime soon. But what I did was I took the middle one. This is the middle one. And I sent this to Jan because she was looking for some stuff for the upcoming newsletter. So I processed this kind of just for that purpose. But what's kind of interesting when I look at all of them, this is obviously an H alpha, is you can see the mountains of the moon, and that's not just turbulence or anything. If you look at each shot of those 185, depending on where it is, you have the same profile. See that little the undulation in there?
Yeah.
That matches from shot to shot. So I think you're actually seeing
The
profile of the moon.
How'd you color it orange? Like that wasn't directly out of the camera, was it orange?
No, it's pretty standard. You bring up the you basically it's a mono, so it comes out as it's mono, but it comes out as an RGB file. And then if you open that up in photo editing, you can look at the curves, and then you bring up the red, you bring down the you bring up the green, you bring down the blue, and then the red, you kind of make an S curve, and it comes out this color.
Interesting.
People have different formulas for just assigning the individual channels.
Mhm.
But it's false color. It's a mono camera.
Okay.
Yeah, people find it more interesting to look at when it looks kind of like the sun's supposed to look.
Yeah, because I have a photo from that same scope, but mine are just pure white.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it depends what camera you're using, but it would be
122.
red if you were using a color camera on the scope. It would be red. It wouldn't be white with that scope because it's a hydrogen alpha filter, so you're seeing it as red.
Oh, interesting. No,
Right.
it's a black and white camera. It's a mono camera. It's the 122
Yeah, so it's obviously going to be
or
gray.
120.
But anyway, I thought that was kind of, and this prominence, I think is kind of cool here. I did a little I have images to try to do a time lapse, but again, it's the same problem. The sun's rotating. I did like about a half hour afterwards of 1 minute intervals of that prominence to have motion, and you can see the motion. It changes significantly in the course of half an hour. And then there was one other one, this guy here. So this I shot up at Cherry Springs. I was going to do kind of a mosaic of this whole region. This is Satyr. This is in Cygnus, the heart of Cygnus. So that's the star Satyr, SADR, in the heart of Cygnus. So this I shot each night. This is about 8 hours and 16 minutes worth of data. But what I thought was cool about this, the reason why I just kind of stayed in this area, is when you look at like the Crescent Nebula here, most of the times you see that shot like that.
Right.
And even in that wide field, you can see some of the outer bands of it and stuff, which I was happy that it picked up.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of neat seeing it in the context, how little that is compared to all the other nebulosity in that area.
Yeah.
And this got cut off. This is sometimes called the the Butterfly Nebula. So maybe at some point when I'm back up there, I'll fill in the gaps. I'll fill in the whole thing because that whole center of Cygnus is just full
Yeah.
of nebulosity.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. And this I don't know.
I just captured
Oh, that's the one I posted.
the butterfly last night, but I haven't processed it yet.
Of just that area,
Just the butterfly.
just down
I
here.
just did it last night, but I
Oh,
haven't
okay, cool.
processed it yet.
Yeah, it's a really rich area. You look at all the, the dark nebula in that area and everything else. There's just a ton of stuff going on. And then obviously this is the one I posted before. This was my main target when I did that trip to Cherry Springs. I dedicated my TV-85 with my mono set up to just that target. So each clear night I shot this. So this is a total of 20, what does it say? 28 hours, 34 minutes.
Wow.
So it's RGB stars, 3 hours, a little over 3 hours of RGB stars, and then 9 hours and 18 minutes of hydrogen, and 16 hours and 10 minutes of oxygen.
Ooh.
And this is done in the HOO palette, Steve, the same one you used for that.
Yeah, it's
North
interesting. It's interesting how the center hydrogen, the oxygen is almost ghostly in there.
I know.
Did you do anything special in your processing?
No, I tried to keep it pretty unexaggerated. Like I noticed that on some other images on Astrobin, people will bring out the lower part of the histogram to fill in some of the oxygen here. You can see in this area, there's a fair amount of oxygen. So if you look at the histogram, you could, if you did curves, you could kind of pull that up a little more. And I might play with that later on. But I tried to keep it fairly unaccentuated. But if you even look in here, there's a fair amount of oxygen in this area. And then even up top, there's oxygen up in here.
Yeah.
But the oxygen signal, this is one too. You don't see anything. When you're taking the subs, you can see the hydrogen when you're doing the individual subs. The oxygen, you don't really see anything until you combine them.
So wild.
It's really
Yeah,
something
it's cool.
how well defined that is, the oxygen there.
I know.
So
That's what I love
wild.
about this object. It's so distinct.
Yeah,
That boundary is so distinct.
it's crazy.
So even here, like this made me want to have a wider field of view because
There's something going on.
what's going on in that little guy, right? So this is one that kind of begs for a mosaic, but at 28 hours per panel,
You.
I'd have to live another 20 years. So I think that's.
I wonder how much you could add to the outer edges without having as much data. Like, do the outer edges need to be quite as long, or will it not blend properly?
I don't know. You might be able to because you're mostly looking at hydrogen that in that outer region. This is what made me think that you might want to have oxygen too, when you see all this kind of stuff here and this here. But yeah, you're right. It might be doable with just with just mostly hydrogen to at least fill in the details. And then I shot this at the beginning of the night with my Red Cat 51, the Rho Ophiuchi, and I guess I should rotate it to make it. That's how it would be oriented in the sky. So Antares here, M4, Rho Ophiuchi here, and then all the dark nebula.
A lot of different colors there.
And this is shot with basically no filter. This is shot with I'm sorry, it had the L quad. I had that in my filter tray and I left it there. That broadband, that quad band filter. Not that I needed the light pollution filter at Cherry Springs, but I I already had it in there and I shot, and it's kind of like I'm just leaving it in. So this is, you know, no, it's shot with a one-shot color camera with a broadband filter, so no, you know, narrowband stuff. So that's it. I'd love to do this in a larger. This is one of the ones I got like 2 hours a night on it. So this is a total of 3 hours and 46 minutes of data. So in the 3 nights I shot, that's the total data I got. So less than that, like an hour, you know, and change a night. Before it was either there were some clouds in the horizon, or it set. It got too low.
Very nice.
Oh, cool. Well, Brett, thank you again for putting that together and for sharing your experience with us. It was excellent presentation, and looking forward to seeing more of the your handiwork with it.
Thanks.
So, unless there's anything else, we could call it a wrap.
Very cool.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for attending and
Thank you.
for
Good night,
sharing your
everybody.
images.
Good night.
Have a
Take
good night,
care.
guys.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks.